So there's this thing that happens when you understand money that's honestly kind of weird. You start seeing people differently. Not in a judgy way, but in a I can literally predict your financial stress level by watching you order coffee way. Like, there's the person who counts out exact change for parking, and there's the person who doesn't even check if the meter took their credit card. Same human, same basic needs, but they're living in completely different financial universes. Turns out there are 7 of these universes, 7 levels of wealth that most people don't even know exist. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Look, I used to think wealth was just more money, like there's broke, kind of broke, doing okay, and then rich people with yachts. That's like saying there's only 4 levels of fitness. Can't walk upstairs, can walk upstairs, can jog, and Olympic athlete. Each level of wealth isn't just about having more cash. It's like your brain gets rewired. The problems change, the psychology changes. Hell, even the way you think about problems changes. I remember when my biggest financial worry was, can I afford both gas and groceries this week? Now my biggest worry is, should I refinance the investment property or just pay it off? Same person, different level, different universe. Level 1, the oh crap level. This is where you're basically playing financial whack-a-mole. Every time you solve one money problem, 2 more pop up. You know you're here if you've ever done the rob Peter to pay Paul dance, or if you've calculated whether you can survive on ramen until payday. About 28% of people globally live paycheck to paycheck, which means if you're watching this, you probably know the feeling of your card getting declined at the grocery store. And that panic, that's your brain in survival mode. Every financial decision feels like life or death because sometimes it literally is. The weird part, your brain gets so good at crisis management that you become addicted to it. I know people who finally got stable but kept creating financial emergencies because that's the only way they knew how to operate. What you need, not investment advice, not a side hustle, just breathing room, a tiny buffer so your brain can think past tomorrow. Level 2, the finally level. You can pay your bills without having an anxiety attack. You've got maybe a grand or 2 saved up. You can afford the name brand cereal instead of whatever the local equivalent of budget brand is. This feels so good after level 1 that a lot of people think they've won the money game. You can breathe, you can sleep, you can go shopping without a calculator app. But here's where it gets sneaky. This relief becomes a trap. You start thinking, I've been so good with money, I deserve this $200 thing. And since you can afford it, you buy it. Then another $200 thing. Then another. I call this lifestyle creep. But honestly, it's more like lifestyle gallop. You're not building wealth, you're just being broke at a higher income level. The trap? Every raise disappears into slightly better stuff. You're comfortable, but you're not going anywhere. Level 3, the adult level. You've got 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. You're putting money in retirement accounts. You can handle a car repair without crying. This is where all the financial advice blogs want you to be. You're the responsible friend who actually reads the terms and conditions. You know what a Roth IRA is. You have opinions about expense ratios. You might even use the word diversification at parties. But here's the thing about being the responsible friend. You start believing that slow and steady is the only way. You avoid any risk because at least this works. 20 years later, you'll be financially secure and wondering why everyone else your age seems to have more money despite being irresponsible. The reality check? Security is amazing, but optimizing for safety can trap you in the middle class forever. Level 4, the wait what level. This is where the game completely changes. You have enough passive income to cover your basic living expenses, not comfortable living, basic living. You could quit your job tomorrow and not die. You wouldn't be thriving, but you wouldn't be homeless. Only about 15% of people ever get here, and when they do, their brain breaks a little bit. Suddenly you're asking completely different questions. Not, how do I save more money? But, what do I actually want to do with my life? The plot twist. Most people who reach financial freedom have no idea what to do with it. They spent so long optimizing their withdrawal rates and investment allocations that they forgot to think about what they actually wanted. So they just keep optimizing forever. I know people with millions who still stress about spending 20 pounds on lunch because they're still mentally living at level 3. The weird part? You stop trading time for money and start trading money for more money. It's like discovering you can duplicate yourself. Level 5, the "this is fine" level. You don't just have enough money, you have plenty, like embarrassingly plenty. This is where you stop looking at prices on menus. Not because you're showing off, but because the difference between the expensive pasta and the most expensive pasta is irrelevant to your decision. Your friends start saying things like, "Must be nice when you pick up the dinner tab." And honestly, it is nice, really nice. But abundance creates its own special flavor of problems. You can afford almost anything you want, so you start buying things you don't actually want. The 800-pound noise-canceling headphones, the 3,000 euro espresso machine, the car that costs more than most people's annual salary, the trap. You mistake cash flow for wealth. I know people making the equivalent of 500,000 US dollars who are still stressed about money because they're spending nearly all of it. Having a high income and being wealthy are completely different things. One is how much you earn. The other is how much you keep and multiply. For level 6, the "okay, now what" level, you don't work for money anymore. Money works through you. You own businesses, employ people, create value at scale. Only about 3% of people get here. Your wealth isn't passive anymore. It's active. You're not just collecting dividends, you're building systems that generate value while you sleep. The mind shift. You stop thinking about your money and start thinking about other people's problems. How can I solve this? How can I scale that? How can I make this better for everyone? But here's the weird part. You might have 10 million euros on paper, but live more simply than someone at level 5. Most of your wealth is tied up in your businesses. Your actual lifestyle might be pizza and Netflix because you're too busy building to care about stuff. The paradox? The more influence you have, the less you think about money. It becomes like air. You only notice it when something's wrong. Level 7, the forever level. Your great-great-grandchildren will never worry about money. You're thinking in centuries, not years. Less than 1% of people get here, and honestly, it's kind of surreal when you meet them. Money isn't personal anymore, it's institutional. You're not building wealth for yourself, you're creating systems that outlast you. The psychology shift. You start thinking about problems that affect humanity. Climate change, education, disease. Your money becomes a tool for solving things bigger than any one person. But even here, there's a challenge. How do you raise kids who understand the value of money when they'll never experience scarcity? Some of the most miserable people I know are trust fund kids who never learned how to create value for themselves. All right, so here's what's fascinating when you look at all 7 levels. Levels 1 through 3, you're focused on protection. How do I not get hurt? Levels 4 to 5, you're focused on optimization. How do I get the most? Levels 6 to 7, you're focused on creation. How do I make something that matters? The skills that get you from broke to stable, budgeting, couponing, avoiding risk, will actually trap you if you don't evolve past them. I know people who saved their way to level 3 and then spent 20 years saving their way to still level 3. Because they never learned that building wealth requires different skills than preserving wealth. The brutal truth? Rich people don't just have more money. They have completely different relationships with money, risk, and time. They're not better people. They're not smarter people. They just learned to play a different game. Look, money is weird. It's emotional. It's psychological. It's tied up with our deepest fears and biggest dreams. But understanding these levels, that's like having a map. You can see where you are, where you want to go, and what you need to change to get there. You don't have to be stuck where you are, but you do have to understand that every level requires different thinking. The most successful people I know didn't just work harder or save more. They learned to think differently about what money is for and how it works. So ask yourself, what level am I playing at? What level do I want to play at? And what do I need to change about how I think to get there? Because once you understand the levels, you get to choose your level. And that choice, that's where real wealth begins.